Hello, welcome to Jennifer's Magical Book Club. Today I am here to read the novel which is called Paperboy. I'm going to continue from page 121, so I'm going to start. I stood over Mrs. Worthington to look at her like I had done on her front porch. She was so different now from the first time I had seen her when she thought I had called her the bad word. She had gone to a lot of trouble to put on lipstick and makeup. Some of the makeup from her face had rubbed off. Then I saw that the makeup had been covering up the black and blue spot under her right eye. It wasn't swollen as bad as Ma'am's, but Mrs. Worthington had taken a lick on her eye for sure. Maybe Greaser Turles or maybe Mr. Worthington had hit her. If Mr. Worthington could yell at her like he did, then he could hit her too. I said her first name in a whisper. Faye. F was my second best sound besides an S because most of the time I could let a little air out under my teeth as I said it. Mrs. Worthington had pulled her legs up under her like she was trying to fit inside a box. Her head was pushed up against the end of the couch. I wrote Faye on the arm of the couch with my finger. I put the E on the end of her name, whether it belonged there or not. I wanted her to have all the extra dares there was. Her red hair had fallen down over both her eyes. Pretty eyes for sure, even though one was black and blue. I watched her breathe it in and out some more. Dirt was closing in fast when I stepped out on Mrs. Worthington's porch. Ma'am would be upset because I was out late. I felt at first like running to Red's house to turn in my collection money and then running home. I walked instead. It felt like a time to be walking, so my feelings would have time to get better situated in my head. On my way to Red's house, I remembered that Mrs. Worthington had not given me the money for the newspaper. She was the only subscriber on the route who was not paid up. I stopped under a street lamp and got to Red's collection book to put a check by 1396 Herbert. I would go by my house and get the money from my desk drawer to put with the collection money I would hand over to Red's mother. That seemed like the least I could do for Mrs. Worthington. Okay, so this is the end of chapter 9. I'm going to continue from chapter 10 right now, okay? So I'm gonna start. On Saturday morning, I pitched a good game even though I was a little out of sorts because I had upset Ma'am the night before by coming in too close to Dirk. She had forgotten onto me but good and said she had been studying about coming to find me. When I talked back to her by saying I had stayed out after Dirk plenty of times, she had for me to mind what she said because she could feel the haints nearby. Ma'am talked about her haints when she had a strong feeling that wasn't right. Ma'am said haints were like ghosts. You couldn't see them, but you knew they're just the same. After the game, I threw my root hoping to see Mrs. Worthington sitting on her porch, but she didn't show herself. I snugged her newspaper close up to the front door so she wouldn't have to step out in her bare foot. Turning onto Melrose, I saw Era T pushing his empty cart in the opposite direction from his shed. His cart didn't have much in it, and it would take him a while to fill it up. I started wondering if I might have enough guts to check out his secret place to see if I could find my knife. I got a heavy weight inside my stomach when I thought about trying to sneak into Arati's hideout. It was like the feeling I got in class when I knew my name was going to be called to say something. You know where the weight comes from and what it means, but you just get downright tired of it. I folded my newspaper bags under my arm and ran back up Herbert and then over to Arati's secret door in the alley fence. On Saturday, there weren't as many cars and buses on the streets, and the garbage trucks didn't make their rounds. Arati's alley was quiet except for the usual dogs yapping and a few Gosselin lawn mowers making a racket. I thought I could almost feel Mam's hints as I eased up to the shed, but I kept going. The secret door to the old shed wouldn't open when I pulled on it. I didn't have a broken off-curve antenna like Arati's, but I found a wire coat hanger in a garbage can close by and straightened it out over my knee. The coat hanger was flimsy, but I pushed it through the hole in the door and wiggled it around until I heard something fall away inside. On the top and bottom of the frame, I felt for the two long nails that I had seen Arati pulled out. They slipped out without any trouble, and the door creaked open on its own. Covering the opening to the shed on the inside was a canvas tarp like the one Arati kept on his cart. I pulled the heavy canvas back and stepped into the dark. The place smelled like Arati. I couldn't see much, but the room felt small and tight around me like the clock room at school. I hooked the tarp back over the shed door to let me some daylight. The room was tiny and no mistaking that it was where an honest-to-godness drunk man lived. Against one wall stood old brooms and mops and rakes and axes and shovels that Arati had probably picked up from all over the neighborhood. Pieces of bicycles and foot scooters and sidewalk skates were hanging on the walls. Wooden crates on the dirt floor was full of empty whiskey bottles, and on a long plank resting on more crates turned up on their ends were 3 old rusty hot plates wired into an electrical cord that ran along the wall. I followed the cord to a single light bulb with a small chain hanging down. The light bulb was one of those small yellow ones that was supposed to keep bugs away in summer, and never did, but it chased away the darkness with the dirty lights when I pulled the chain. On a shelf above the hot plates was a bag of red onions and cans of Vienna sausages in different sizes. I had only tasted Vienna sausages once and didn't like them. Ma'am calls them trash food. A single bed with the legs sawed off was pushed up sideways against the back wall. Old blankets and coats were piled up at the end of the bed. Memphis got cold enough in the winter, but the pile of coats looked like they didn't belong in July. Plus, they stunk to high heaven. So, I will read till page 127, and I'm going to continue back from 128. So, I hope you enjoyed and have a nice day. Bye!